Thank you for tuning in to Roll Call. The movie selected is Gigli. Oops, I mean Gigli.
Cheers to Gigli. The, what did I call it, Bria?
The American classic, I think.
Yes, the great American classic. Here's to you, baby. Let's go. Woo! It's gonna be fun watching the video.
I think tequila's just my shiz.
I'm getting ripped tonight.
Oh my god, I've been singing that so much.
Oh my god. Okay. All right, everyone. On that note, welcome to Roll Call, the show where two childless millennials follow an actor's journey from the very beginning all throughout their blockbuster hit.
Yes, because let's face it, we miss Blockbuster.
Yeah, let's keep it original gangster's gangster out of respect for Blockbuster.
Oh my god, I love it. I love it. All right, what's up, guys? I'm Bria, and I'm definitely the cow in every relationship instead of the bull.
And I'm Simone, and I 1000% was going to ask you, in this friendship, in this relationship, who's the bull and who's the cow?
So yeah, definitely I moo, word to Doja Cat. I'm the cow, I think. And I think because you're a Leo, I will give you the bull.
Wow, that's high praise.
Oh my god. We should do intro shots every recording now.
Yes, we truly should. Thank God this is not a visual because I'm still squinting from that tequila shot.
It makes the Owen Wilson impression easier, I'm sure.
It makes it come out so much smoother. All right, Bria, today I know I'm so excited for you to introduce what we're talking about today. Can you please tell our valued customers, great value customers, what we're discussing today?
Yes, we have a great blue light special, and we're rolling back. We're rolling back those prices on these DVDs because let's face it, this was a bomb. But in today's episode, we're chatting about, and guess what? No, it's not Jennifer Lopez, because we're chatting about Bennifer in the American classic Gigli. So word to Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez.
Yes, word. Wow, this is going to be a really special episode. I'm sorry, my mic's probably going to be all jiggly. This is going to be a really special episode. And Bria, let's take it back to August 3rd, 2003.
Oh my God, 2003 is such a special year for me. I don't know about you, but so much of my preteen amazingness happened in 2003. So I have a lot to get through, but let's hit it off with another American classic. The Lizzie McGuire movie came out in 2003.
Yes.
Hey now. This is what dreams are made of.
Fuck yeah. Sing to me, Paolo.
And I mean, in other amazing, influential preteen news, every young girl thought it was possible to be a model thanks to Tyra Banks in America's Next Top Model.
Wanna be on top? Na, 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 na.
Simone, can you smize?
No.
Can you hoe but make it fashion?
Hoe but make it fashion. Yes, I can do that.
America's Next Top Model, so many memes, so many GIFs, so many iconic moments, and so many cringy moments. I've rewatched it in the Panda Express that we're still in, but slowly coming out of. And I mean, so many things are so questionable, like 20 something years later, or 17-ish years later. But at the time, it was great television. So thank you, Tyra Banks. I would like to talk about this lovely, lovely, beautiful moment. And I mean, just where would we be without Beyonce's debut album, Dangerously in Love, dropping in 2003? Had everybody doing the uh-oh dance. Everybody was crazy in love with Beyonce and Jay-Z. Like, I mean, just iconic, all of it. Some other notable albums of 2003, which honestly is not a lot. I like was having trouble like finding things that I was like, oh, but so 50 Cent. So we were in the club in 2003.
Okay, sorry.
Yes, exactly. A favorite of ours and yours, I'm sure, is Transatlanticism by Death Cab for Cutie.
That's very monumentous. Yes, I have a transatlanticism tattoo. So
Yes.
big year.
Outcast, Hey Y'all, well, not Hey Y'all was like the number one song of that year, but their double album Speaker Box and Love Below came out in 2003, which is also their last album as a duo. Jay-Z released his retirement album, the Black Album, which he was supposed to stop rapping, but he has not stopped rapping. So that was a big lie.
What was the hit song or like some of the hit ones from that album?
Okay. Oh yeah, Change Clothes, Dirt Off Your Shoulder. Can I get an encore? Do you want more? Dirt off your you gotta get that.
Oh yeah,
dirt off your shoulder.
Yeah.
That's Dirt Off Your Shoulder. The song 99 Problems.
Oh yeah.
The song I was thinking of, which is the song I love from this album, is Allure, but it's not really a single, it's just a song on the, but yeah, oh my god. So yeah, this album was pretty like monumentous at the time, which is weird that I've never realized this, that Beyonce came out in 2003 as a solo artist, and then Jay-Z was like, I'm hanging it up, I'm putting the Yankee cap up, and I'm gonna be like a CEO. And I was like, that's so weird that she was like on her rise, and he was like, you know what, I'm gonna chill, but then he decided not to chill. So
yeah.
And then the last album of 2003 that I thought was pretty special, Evanescence, Falling, because Wake Me Up Inside.
I can't wake up.
Exactly. So, in other news and TV news, my teen fave, The OC, premiered in August of 2003, which I did not watch from the beginning, but later on that year, I fell in love and a fangirl was born, and I have had to rein in like some of the behaviors I exhibited during that time. So, Newlyweds, Nick and Jessica, premiered on MTV. We talked about them in terms of Bennifer, like they were another big celebrity couple that all eyes were on them at that time.
Yeah.
Disney Channel news, The Cheetah Girls came out in 2003.
Oh, yay.
Yes, Cheetah-licious. And other slightly Disney news, Hilary Duff came out with Metamorphosis, which gave us the classic Come Clean.
Wow. That song to me is like the Olivia Rodrigo version of Driver's License. And that is my teen's Driver's License.
I mean, I'm mad respect Hilary Duff. Like, she's up there probably with Lauren Conrad and like My Wholesome White Girls. That I'm like, yes, just do you and don't be problematic. I love it. Like,
yeah.
Oh my God. In scandalous news, we have the Britney, Christina, Madonna MTV Awards kiss.
The kiss that everyone saw and the kiss that no one saw because they were too busy panning to see Justin Timberlake's face.
Oh my God. How do you remember watching that? Like, how did you, like, what did that do to your young minds? Like,
it was one of the first, probably the first time, if not in like a music video or like some kind of like stupid sexy teen movie where they're making girls make out. That was the first time that I saw like two people that I kind of knew, obviously not in like a personal friendship way, but yeah, like make out. And I was like, whoa. But my sister Leah had Colleen over, her best friend, and they all just kind of screamed like, oh, what? Just because no one really saw it coming. That was just a time when like it was still a little bit shocking to see that on TV.
I'm proud of the progress that we have made and that we're so progressive. And it is Pride Month, everybody. So shout out
Happy Pride
to
Month.
the LGBTQ plus community. But like I do miss like kind of the innocence of that time because things like this were such like big deals. Like it was everywhere after it happened. Like, you know, it was reported like news outlets, tabloids, all this kind of stuff. So like it's iconic for that reason. If it happened now, we just be like, okay, like y'all cute. Like it's like nothing. I can see that on Instagram right now.
Oh, I know.
It takes a lot for something
anymore.
to be and like it was so easy back then.
Yeah.
Because in other scandal news, One Night in Paris, Paris Hilton's sex tape came out in 2003. And I don't think, knowing what I know now, I don't think I would watch it because she did not want it to come out, didn't.
She was humiliated.
Yeah. But like such a boss move for her to turn that into what it became, like to segue that into like her empire that is like gigantic. Like so like Kim Kardashian, like I feel like, and I don't know because I feel like she hasn't talked about it, but I feel like most people feel like that was like kind of a calculated move on her part. Whereas like Paris Hilton, it was genuinely like unplanned. And she just like had to roll with like what happened. And the connection between Paris and Kim is like, okay, you kind of saw what happened to her. So then like maybe you thought to replicate that and it worked.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't think I would watch it just because I feel like it definitely was something that she didn't intend to like happen or not happen, but like come out and profit off of in some way. So in sad news, let's raise it up in RIP to legendary actor John Ritter, passed away in 2003, which I remember was like a big deal because he's still so young. He had just started that television show, Eight Simple Rules.
Oh yeah, he was the dad on Eight Simple Rules.
Yeah. But I knew him from Three's Company thanks to Nick at Night. So I was like, oh my God, Jack from Three's Company passed away. So that was pretty big news. Finally, let's get to movies of 2003. So 2003 was a big year for sequels in movie series in general. You have a lot of not so great sequels. My favorite out of all the ones that I saw was Bad Boys 2. Like that movie is great in my opinion. But you have like Charlie's Angels Full Throttle, Too Fast, Too Furious, The Matrix Reloaded, stuff like that. Then you also have a continuation of a bunch of movie series like The Lord of the Rings, of course, Harry Potter. I'm not sure if Pirates of the Caribbean is the second one or the first one.
It was the first one.
Okay, the first one. But you have the start of another big series.
Hell yeah, that first one was huge.
Yeah, and there's just like so many more that was hard to list. And just so many this year of movies is like not great movies, but like they're movies that we all probably like watched at sleepovers and like rented, or like this DVD was really cheap. So like we have a copy of this type of movies, not movies that like I'd be like, oh my God, that came out in 2003. One notable movie I will say that like I'm like, oh my God, yes, Kill Bill came out in 2003.
Yeah.
So, but there's a lot of like commercial, like fun, frumpy, like whatever movies at this time. So the top 3 movies of 2003, Finding Nemo, Magical Goldfish, Pirates of the Caribbean, and then Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King were the top 3 movies. And then the movies that came out with Gigli in the month of August. There were a lot of like movies I was just like, oh, I've never heard of this. It wasn't a big month of like notable movies.
Yeah, August is like people are kind of going back to work. It might not be considered in time to be a summer blockbuster, and then it's like before the holiday hits and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So, American Wedding came out with that's the third movie in the American Pie
Yeah.
series, right?
I think I saw
And
that in the theater.
really,
Yeah. It
I've
was
seen
the
clips of
one
it.
my
They
mom.
get married.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's a
Yes.
wedding.
My mom had to be the one to like buy the tickets, but she wasn't interested in seeing the movie. So she bought us tickets to go see it and then like walked us in and then just like went to the bathroom and walked out. She was just like, ugh, I'll see you in 2 hours. So
Word
cool,
to
cool move, Pat. Thank you.
yeah, word to your mom because some parents would just be like, no, I'm not buying you tickets to see that bullshit. Freaky Friday came out.
Oh.
Cabin Fever.
Oh, yep. I saw that in the theater. It's a scary movie.
Yes. Grind, which is a movie I love because Adam Brody from the OC is in it. And I have the DVD because shamefully I was like, yes, I must have this Brody movie on hard copy. SWAT,
Okay.
movie with like LL Cool J and various other men being in a SWAT team came out. Uptown Girls with Brittany Murphy.
Oh, yeah. And Dakota Fanning, right?
Yeah. Oh my God.
She was the
Baby Dakota.
babysitter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Freddy versus Jason came
Oh,
out.
okay. Bria, we have it on DVD. Like, my dad loves that movie so much.
Oh, throw him a Freddy versus Jason party.
His birthday's in August. I could do it. He would actually love that. That or like a Walking Dead party.
Oh my God. Yes, do it. So, is that where your love for like horror movies comes from? Is your dad?
I would say it's a mix of both, but yeah, like we would always do walk like every Friday night we'd go down and walk to Blockbuster and we'd pick out a movie in a series and each weekend would turn it in and like get the next sequence. So, um Friday the 13th was something I watched with my mom. Nightmare on Elm Street was something I watched with my dad. And I
Like
loved it.
you're a mix of both. It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
The last movie I have on this
Okay.
list, and then we will move on out of 2003 nostalgia, is 13, which is a big movie because
Oh.
it is Nikki Reed's big movie debut in terms of like she wrote this movie, right? And
Yeah.
yeah, it's just like a huge like coming of age story for young people at this time. So
Yeah.
very notable. All right. So now that we're wrapped up down memory lane, let's get into the big box office bomb that was Gigli. Simone, hit us with some box office numbers.
All right. Have you seen these box office numbers?
I mean, it's hard not to because it just, for one, we all know just like it via pop culture history that this movie didn't do well.
Yeah.
And then like in a lot of like late night segments and stuff like that, like it was a running joke about like how bad this movie did. So I don't know specific numbers, but I know it's like abysmal. So
it I feel like that could be recorded as a quote that can easily sneak its way in there as a movie review that you see on like Rotten Tomatoes or Common Sense Media or something like. All I know is that it's abysmal.
I try. What can I say?
Oh my God. Okay. So the budget for this movie was $54 million. Definitely most of that goes to Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck because you can tell the sets are not that elaborate.
Yeah.
And on its opening weekend in August of 2003, it made $3.5 million in opening, which was half, Bria, of its total domestic grossing.
Yes. Oh my God. Okay. So I have to ask you,
Okay.
and I'm sure, I don't know if really we could talk about this at another point, but I'm just going to ask you now. what do you think contributed to people not going to see this movie?
I think there were people who might have been so sick of seeing them in the media that the thought of seeing them together in the movie would have just been way too much overkill. Because truly, it wasn't until like after Gigli was released, some conspiracy theorists say that like this is what doomed their marriage, the curse of Gigli, as we talked about before we started recording today. But the curse of, like, that's what kind of brought them down. But before then, like, they were so hot. Last episode we talked about their very short time span in their relationship between when they started seeing each other and then versus when he proposed. So I don't know, I think people were way too over it, or it got such bad like pre-critic reviews about it, it just contributed. I don't know, that's one theory.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I think that another factor that plays into it is obviously that the movie is very it's not what it appears to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you watch the trailer, you're like, "What? Okay." Like
That's true. And the movie poster says it's a picture of Jennifer and Ben on it. And I wrote this down specifically because I thought it was interesting. Murder, blackmail, temptation, redemption, which sounds very fucking misleading.
yes. Like so and there is this big I don't want to call it a theory. I'm thinking it's true that Martin Brests actually intended for this to be like a real, like mafia serious kind of movie.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted it to be more of a romantic comedy type of movie because they were dating.
Mm-hmm.
And that's crazy to think about because if you think about it, like when Jennifer Lopez was filming Made in Manhattan, she was dating Ben already
Mm-hmm.
and was in the process of getting a divorce. And Made in Manhattan came before Gigli. It came out
Mm-hmm.
before Gigli. So like I wonder if it took longer for this movie to come out because they were trying to make it into something that it wasn't intended to be because of their relationship. And I wonder if it came out before Made in Manhattan and as intended to be, like if it would have done differently. And later on, it's different because there's so many couples that have met on sets and movies and shows.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's not really a big, like, oh my God, what? Like, it's a common thing in Hollywood. It's not surprising at all. But I feel like when a movie that a couple meets on comes out prior to their relationship versus like a couple doing a movie together intentionally, it
Okay. Yeah.
totally is like a different ball game because like it's like, oh okay, like I can see like, oh yeah, like okay, classic Brian and Angelina, like they met on Mr. and Mrs. Smith. That
Uh-huh.
is the movie that really like severed his and Jen's relationship and whatnot. But
Yeah.
like you watch it and you're like, well, fuck, I understand kind of why. Like they're hot together and it makes sense. Like, but at the same time, like you have other couples who were dating and do movies together, and you're like, nobody wants like they don't have good chemistry on screen, probably because they don't want to show so much of themselves, you know? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm going on a rant.
No.
But yeah.
I really want to keep that in because it makes sense. I mean, it really does in terms of like why people would just kind of be over it and be like, dude, we already see y'all like that anyway. So,
Yeah. So
but I wonder if Geely had been released prior to Made in Manhattan, but still reserve or like got really low box office hits, how that would have impacted Made in Manhattan, because Made in Manhattan did pretty well.
yeah. Mm, hmm.
Like
I
to
don't
see
know.
her in another rom-com.
But at this, well, like currently at this point, I feel like that's part of J Lo's brand. Like, so
Yeah.
I feel like doing another one right afterwards wouldn't have been like a big hit, like in terms of Made in Manhattan not doing well. But I don't know. It's a weird world to think about. Like if it came out before. But anyways, I am very, very curious to hear what our man Lil Raj has to say about Gigli.
Oh boy, Bria, buckle your fucking seatbelt. Would you like to guess how many stars Lil Raj gave Gigli?
I mean, is half a star like actually like feasible?
It is possible. You can guess
um,
that.
I'm gonna go with like half a star, like one.
Little Raj scored this movie higher than Made in Manhattan. Lil Raj gave Made in Manhattan
What?
2
Hold the
stars.
fuck.
Lil Raj gave Gigli 2.5 stars.
Wow.
I mean, it's still half credit, but he gave it 1/2 star more than The Wedding Planner.
And Blood and Wine. It's to me, honestly, like I'd rather watch like I've watched Gigli twice for this. I would never watch Blood and Wine again.
Yeah.
So like Blood and Wine, I think was higher than Gigli too. I think it was like 3.5 maybe stars.
Yeah.
And oh my god. Okay, please continue.
Okay. All right. For Lil Raj, though, it seemed what he loved most about this film was all in its script and its dialogue. He said the writing and the dialogue are truly his favorite parts. He says, and I quote, "It's so rare to find dialogue of such originality and wit, so well written that even though we know the exchange basically involves actors showing off, they do it well," referring to J-Lo and Ben, "that we let them."
I'm sorry. What? I mean, most people's like qualms with this movie is some of the dialogue, not all of it, but some of it, like gobble gobble, like
It's turkey
okay, Lil
time.
Raj.
It's turkey time. Gosh, God, I have so many follow-up questions about that, but we'll get to it later. So his whole thing, like the reason why he doesn't give this a higher score, he says the overall problem with this movie is that like it missed the mark. It's not their chemistry. He thinks that Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez have great screen chemistry. It's not that. It's their conviction of their character. They're made out to be these like tough killer crime crime mobbers working for bosses. But that they never like they're way too soft. He's like these characters would never kill someone. The fact that like they have to think about cutting off that guy's thumb and like run away together and da 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 like so yeah, he was like they didn't convince me at all, and so why would you try and convince the audience otherwise? Like
Oh,
just have them be something else.
yes. I mean, I totally agree with that, actually. Like, okay, Lil Raj, you're onto something because I definitely have notes regarding those points. So, absolutely, yes,
Yes,
agreed.
agreed. I agree with him there too, but I'm gonna pull another quote now. I'd like to kind of use this moment as a segue that there are some extremely politically incorrect roles in this movie.
Yes.
Justin Banta plays a character named Brian who's mentally disabled. And obviously Justin Barta, who's a national treasure. He's Miley, a national treasure, but like he's not mentally handicapped. So kind of like a Leonardo DiCaprio Gilbert Grape situation. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of inappropriate dialogue. And then more specifically, the R word is thrown around a lot. But Lil Raj says it in his review, so I just wanted to give that little segment. Um Meanwhile, Brian behaves like a well rehearsed movie retarded person should. He does or doesn't do whatever the script requires and conveniently disappears into his room when he is not needed. And so that is another thing he's like, I call bullshit on that.
Yes, absolutely. I have notes on that as well. Oh man, so many notes. I mean,
So many, Bria. This honestly might need to be a two-parter, and then the second half would be like that in Jersey Girl, since weren't sure if we are going to tackle a whole Jersey Girl.
I know. I was kind of thinking about that a little bit. I was like, damn, we might need to like break this up.
I know,
But,
we haven't done a two-parter since Selena.
I want to ask you overall, because I don't think we do this. We talk about a lot of different parts of the movies and kind of what we think, but like overall, what is your opinion of Gigli? Like if someone brings up Gigli, what are your thoughts and points that you would like to make?
Okay, so I feel kind of spoiled with this answer because we already knew prior to seeing it that it was going to be bad. Like you and I both watched this, I think, for the first time, right? So,
Yeah.
so therefore we watched it separately from each other, but we both knew that it was going to be bad. So we already go into that mindset of like how many times this movie has been shit upon by movie reviewers. So I feel like that has skewed my like perception of the film because by the end of it, I said, I love this. Is this movie so bad that it's good? And everyone in this movie is monologuing, and I hate it / love it. Final thought was 31st birthday idea. Everyone is assigned a chunk or a character, and we read the script.
Hey.
I ironically kind of like this movie. And I'm sorry, but if I knew nothing about it and I saw this blind as like a 13-year-old kid, I probably would have been like, this fucking sucks.
I feel the same in a weird way because like there's so much about it that is absolutely wrong. Like absolutely. But then there's like these really big nuggets of it that you're just like, wow, like that's not that bad. Like,
Yeah.
so I tried to concisely say how I felt about this movie. And so I wrote that this is clearly a movie that suffers from trying to turn a certain kind of movie on its head, and it steers too far away from the things that make those kinds of movies work.
Mm-hmm.
And it tried to be too different / switch things up too much.
Yes.
But then like I go into all these like other points about it. And like I feel like you want to like love this movie because it should be good, but it's not. But you're like, I don't know, it should be good. And I don't know. Yeah, it's
Agreed.
hard.
Agreed. Though there were parts where exactly I did an Owen Wilson wow too. I was like, this really works. Like I found chunks of like Big Lebowski-ish type of characters and dialogues and like a little sprinkle of Tarantino. It's like Tarantino like had a LaCroix in the script. Like it was a faint fart of Tarantino, but enough to know that it's there.
Yes.
I think I was getting too hung up on this mentally handicapped performance and like feeling like kind of weird watching it. I think that's what really threw me off guard. I mean, the romance plot aside, which we definitely will get into, that was like the second thing that I was like, that's really fucking stupid. Like,
yeah.
Anyways, okay. But I just
want to say, okay, so the Tarantino note of it, my biggest flaw of this movie, I think, really is that there's too much talking and not enough action. And especially when you think of action that backs up the shit that they're talking about or saying, like it's like, okay, and what? Like Little Raj said, like these characters are supposed to be these like mobster, gangster, enforcer types, and we don't see them enforcing shit. Like we see Ben Affleck in the very beginning, but then he gets like half of the money.
Yeah. Like, and like I want to see Jennifer Lopez sticking her fingers up someone's eyeballs and doing the maneuver and like rip it, like, fucking up the prefrontal cortex of the brain. And like this movie was already rated R anyways for like gross language. So like why not add the blood and fun gore to it? Like this movie could have had way more action and it would have worked.
Yes. And I just want to say too, like Martin Brest, prior to this movie, was a story director. He directed Meet Joe Black, Beverly Hills Cop. He was successful as a director. After this movie, he did not make any other movies. Yes. And then this is like the only movie like of the notable movies that he wrote. So like
Wow.
I feel like if it's true that the studio was like, no, we want to like make this into this, and like they did away with like his initial stuff, which if you watch the trailer and on IMDb, one of the trivia facts is that a lot of stuff in the trailer isn't in the movie, and there's like certain clips and scenes like that it's obvious that that's probably true, that they cut out a lot of stuff that might have actually made this movie work better.
Yeah.
But justice for Martin Brest, because I can only imagine how like disheartening it is as a creative to like create something, especially write it and direct it and then have it obliterated to one of the biggest like jokes of 2003. And he hasn't directed another movie since. Like I don't know if he's worked in movies in any other capacity, but like, man, I feel for him in terms of that. So
yeah,
it's just sad. But Ben and Jen bounced back from this disaster, so good for them. But poor Martin Brest, like somebody give him a break. Like this wasn't assigned to either one of us, and lately we've been trying to do summaries of the movies in case our ghost listeners have never seen these movies or don't intend to watch them, just so like as we talk about them, like kind of the gist of the plot of the movie. This movie is so hard to summarize, I feel like, off the dome.
Yes.
So I don't know, do you want to take a shot at it
off the dome?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I'll do it off the dome, but if it's bad, we have to cut it. Promise? Okay. All right. This is the story starring Larry Gigli, who works for mob bosses in the Los Angeles County area. He is bribed, or he like has a huge debt to one of his mob bosses. And he sends him on a task to go kidnap the federal marshal or federal prosecutor's mentally handicapped brother, and like keep him hostage for a few days until they can like shake him loose, because the prosecutor is gonna like look for them and like he has enough to charge them and take them to court. Larry Gigli kidnaps Brian, played by Justin Barta, has him at his apartment when Ricky, played by Jennifer Lopez, shows up. And it is revealed that she is also working for the same mob boss and was like sent to him on a separate assignment to make sure that like she babysits them. Like they're saying that she's watching him to make sure he doesn't fuck up. And so they're stuck with each other for a few days. Love ensues, chases ensue, some gun violence ensues. How will this movie end? Will they fall in love? Will Brian get to see Baywatch? You'll just have to stay tuned and find out. How'd I do?
That was pretty beautiful. I think
you.
We're gonna leave that one in.
Okay.
All right, so let's talk about the cast of Gigli, because this is no cast to sneeze at for such a like flop of a movie. Like we have some heavy hitters in this movie.
Yeah.
Obviously, we know Bennifer is in it, but Al Pacino and Christopher Walken,
yeah, those are
big names. Like, and I wonder how much of the budget they ate. Like, because we know Ben Affleck and J-Lo made like 24.5 million, 12 for J-Lo, 12 and a half for Ben. And then the budget was 54. So that's like almost half of it. I know Al Pacino has to have like a heavy price, like,
Yeah,
and
even for his
Christopher
little
Walken.
role.
Yeah, so I don't know if we could find out. I didn't even think about looking that up, but like
How each person was paid.
yeah, but let's talk about like their roles in the movie, at least like in terms of impact. I feel like I wrote in my notes, I was like, I mean, for one, I feel like you would find this funny because remember, I always get Christopher Walken and John Voight kind of confused.
Oh,
So I was
yes.
like,
Yes.
how funny would it be if
Another John Voight
was Christopher Walken's character?
I could easily see him playing that character though, because I like both would say really fucking weird, obscure dialogue like that. Like Marie Callender's. I wrote that down. I want that tattooed on my butt.
Please say the Marie Callender's
in the Christopher Walken voice.
If you so feel inclined, yes.
You know what I feel like doing? I feel like going down to Marie Callender's, getting a big bowl of pie and ice cream.
Bravo. Okay, so that was beautiful. I just want to say, like, I am impressed with your Christopher Walken impression.
Oh God. Well, I'm laughing because I was like, this line could have been read so many different ways, and I really want to like do some vocal work with you. This is why I think we should do a two-parter, because I really like to do some bits where we try out reading this dialogue together in different ways.
Oh my God. Okay. I feel like maybe we make that like a bonus episode. Like
a true bonus mini?
Yes. Like, we're gonna bullshit through the Gigli dialogue and see if we can like tweak it and see how it runs differly.
Sometimes
but that's a great idea.
Just delivery. Thank you. That's essentially what my birthday is. That's what I want to do.
I'm here for it. You know, I'm always here for your birthday shenanigans. You want me to dress like a dinosaur? I'm there.
True story.
Al Pacino comes in towards the end and he is in true Al Pacino form. And I was just like, you know, Al Pacino is gonna Al Pacino.
Yeah.
Like, it is like if I don't know if I saw a written review or I did watch some YouTube reviews of Gigli, which were great. But someone was like, even if you gave Meryl Streep this, it would still be hot garbage. And I don't know. But I mean, I feel like if you put Meryl Streep in this movie, she's gonna Meryl Streep. Like, in a way, like if she was Ben's mom just by chance. Like, you're just like, it's Meryl Streep.
It's like, Meryl Streep. Like, she gets a pass for everything.
Yes, exactly. So I feel like the same with Al Pacino and kind of Christopher Walken. Like, they both are just like, just great actors, and they could turn any bullshit into gold pretty much. Like, and they did what they had to do and they got paid and was like deuces. So what do you think about Al Pacino's character? And same?
Yeah, it was same as you said, like very Al Pacino-esque. Plays, you know, but that was another thing that Lil Raj really praised the movie on, was like, you can put Al Pacino in anything and he's always going to be like this charming sociopath and like transitions from it really easily from cool and sly to I'm going to put a bullet right through your head.
Yes. Okay, so putting aside the political correctness of Justin Bartha's performance, how do you think he did as Brian? Like, what do you think about his character?
I mean, so the way that, so I looked it up because I was just curious if they were aiming for a specific diagnosis, and Brian's character has a like type of autism called like savant, and it's someone who has like a really, really strong memory and like associates memories with certain things. So like what he was thinking about the beach and like likes to be read to because of these like memories that he holds, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's the way that they spun it off. So I mean, it's like I don't know if that excuses the behavior or what, but as someone, as a teacher, obviously I'm not perfect. I don't diagnose. It's not my place at all to diagnose, but I do work with quite a bit of students who are either on the spectrum or in like a moderated SDC class at my school. So I don't know. I see those behaviors a lot. Um, so I mean, I think overall, I think they made his character a lot more ridiculous by making him curse at
Yeah.
stuff.
It's like they tried to give him Tourette's.
Yes.
And I don't know if they intended for that too, but yeah, it seems like maybe a combo of that, which again is just like Little Raj said, kind of like a Hollywood version of what they might think is like a way to portray a person on the spectrum
Yeah.
and make it watchable and, entertaining. And it's
Right.
like, okay.
Because either way, okay. Because either way, like we have to believe that that we have to have that perception that Brian's going to be an extremely sympathetic character. He's someone that like we feel, oh, like we have sympathy for him,
Yeah.
right? Like he's the one who got kidnapped. He's the one who's being yelled at all the time by Ben Affleck and like is totally taken out of his element. He's hungry and like complete like being with complete strangers, like feel sad for him, right? Like
Yeah.
regardless of the fact that he's mentally handicapped, like I don't feel sorry for that part, but I feel sorry that he like doesn't understand and is being treated like shit, right? So
Yeah.
we feel sympathy for his character, so therefore it's hard to dislike a sympathetic character. I just I don't know.
It's a hard pill to swallow in 2021.
Yeah.
But
And I'm sure I know that actually I can't say this with certainty, but I'm willing to bet that Justin Barta like knows better now and has probably made some apology at some point, about the performance, and I'm sure he was just doing it to make a buck and wasn't trying to be a real asshole about it.
yeah. Um I will say though, in that Pat O'Brien interview with Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez, when Ben's by himself, he's like Justin Bartha like was very like serious. He was very like kind of method. He didn't want to break character,
Mm.
and so I will commend him for that part of it. Like he did take it seriously. It wasn't like some gag probably to him of just like, okay, now I have to like pay this character. Like he was really intentional about his portrayal. Probably it probably hasn't aged that great because we have learned a lot more regarding being on the spectrum and stuff like that, but
Mm.
I think at the time his intentions were good, probably.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In that regard, let's talk about Mr. Ben Affleck himself, because this is the Jennifer Lopez podcast right now. So
Right.
let's get him out of the way before we dive into like
Yes.
her role. But Mr. Larry Gigli, we were introduced to him in a very Sopranos kind of way.
Yes. Again,
And
like comedically mobbish. Like he's directly looking into the camera, but we know that he's talking to someone behind us at some point, and then it wasn't until that he's revealed that he's at a laundromat that we know that someone's in. Like I thought the opening scene was actually pretty fucking clever.
yeah, I wasn't mad at that either. And if you think about it too, just like I said, like The Sopranos was still really big at this time. So
Yeah.
it's like very in line with pop culture and what was happening. Like initially watching it, I was like, well, this is a very outdated viewpoint of like what a mobster is. But then I was like, wait, hold the phone. It's 2003. The Sopranos is like the biggest thing on TV still. So like, yeah, this is still accurate.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know about you. It threw me off that it seems like he's from LA, and obviously it is in LA, but like I thought he would have been like a transplant maybe, but it seems like he's lived there his whole life, but I'm not sure. But yeah, so like for some people, his portrayal might have been like very poor, not
Stereotypical.
not that great. I wasn't mad at it when I first watched it. I have a note that I was like, you know what? I can buy Ben Affleck as this character.
Sorry, really quickly, everyone. He was born in Berkeley, California, but he must have grown up somewhere.
Bay Area.
He must have grew up somewhere else. Oh
He
yeah, in
grew up in
Massachusetts.
Boston.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Massachusetts. He has a very strong like Boston accent, and I think he plays those roles really well because we can tell it's authentic. He doesn't really have to fake it. But for me, I think when you already have that kind of East Coast accent jumping right up like one couple states over to New Jersey is really easy to slip into. And I think he would have rather like mimicked a New Jersey accent than try. I think you're right. It would have sounded better if he had tried to be more West Coast.
Yeah. Like that threw me off in the
Right.
beginning so much. I was just like, why are we in LA? Because like
Yeah, I honestly didn't know it took place in LA until they like drove by some landmark points and I was like, oh, fuck.
yeah, because you think about the mob and the mafia and you think East Coast, maybe Chicago, because that is where Al Capone is from. But even like Chicago, it's like a city, it's in the Midwest, it's cold, it's, grayish, and like those kind of undertones. I don't think of sunny ass California when I think of a mob story. Like, so that just threw me all kinds of off. I did appreciate kind of that they tried to have this like undertone of like, he is trying to be something that he's not and like what he thinks that he should maybe be. And he's really like this soft, kind of sensitive like guy. It's quoted that that what drew Ben Affleck to this film and like reading it is that, those softer undertones of like not really being who you are and, realizing that, he's like this nice guy who doesn't like really want to hurt anybody and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that was going to bring me to my next point is that it's tough, even though he was really good in the town, it's tough for me to see past his like all-American baby face. Like Ben Affleck kind of has a baby face.
Yeah.
And he even like jawline's great. It's like nothing about that. Like I think he's actually very handsome myself, but I don't know, he just always looks like he's like an all-American, like I lay out in the cornfields at night and stare up at the stars kind of boy.
I'm kind of curious. I kind of want to put him in our next like roll of the dice for roll call.
Okay.
To watch like other movies of his. But like I know of a role of him is like in Dazed and Confused. And he's the bully who goes around trying to paddle freshmen before this. I think the school year is over, and like the incoming freshmen who's trying to haze them and stuff. But like even then, like you get again a sense of like this kind of all-American like jock type or super popular dude, frat boy, all that kind of stuff. But that it feels like that he's putting it on to appear a certain way versus that's like actually who he is and he's just a dick. Like a Stifler, since American Pie is like on my mind.
Okay.
Like Stifler to me is just like a dick. Like that's just how he is, Whereas like, okay, in American Pie, Kevin Kline's character, he's this lacrosse jock, he's supposed to be this tough guy, but he's like, really soft and he is in the chorus and he's falling in love with this chorus girl. And he's like, if she doesn't want to have sex, that's fine. Like versus being like, oh no, I'm getting laid. Like, and I feel like Ben Affleck kind of embodies similarly that kind of stereotype almost. But he just I don't know.
No, it's a perfect point because he like looks like a baby, tries to act like a tough guy, but deep down is still pretty much a softie, and we're kind of like,
oh, I feel bad for you thinking that you have to portray all this toxic masculinity. It's okay. Let it go.
Okay, Ben, let it go.
All right. So I mean, the interviews for this movie, I feel like were just not about this movie. It was
Yeah.
about Ben and Jen at that
Yeah.
point. So I feel like we covered that in the Bennifer bonus episode.
Yeah.
I will say though that I do think that they did believe in this movie, and Jennifer Lopez in like one of her interviews, she's like, I think that this is like a very smart, funny, sexy alternative to like some of the big like summer blockbusters.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's not a bad point. Like,
Yeah.
I think that could have been very true. Like, and looking at the movies that came out when it came out, like there are some like pretty notable movies, but there's nothing to me that like, I mean, besides it just being panned in the media, that I would have been like, oh, fuck Gigli, I'm going to go see American Wedding or, some of the other movies that came out. But I mean, probably the troll in me might have been like, let's go see Jaylee. Like, or at least like you go sneak in. That's probably what happened. Like nobody paid.
No one paid for it, but they like snuck in after like to see a double feature, and they're like, "Hurry,
Yes,
let's go see it."
exactly. Like went to go see American Wedding or
Went
something,
for
or
American
Cabin
Wedding,
Fever.
stayed for the Gigli.
Yes, exactly. But I think it could have been like successful in that way, and I could see like where they thought that could have worked. Their interviews weren't very revealing about like the process of the movie. I know JLo did talk about like really trying to buy into like not buy into, but study Ricky's like this very Eastern philosophy kind of that she has through the movie. Like she does yoga, she talks about this like very sick but very, I don't know, cerebral kind of like eye
it's like a
removal
lobotomy kind of like
and just all kinds of stuff like that. She has a tattoo that looks like a Chinese symbol on the back of her neck. And then she's wearing a robe that has like some motifs. She's very like bohemian kind of Eastern yoga chick in this movie.
Okay, I can see that.
Moving on. Ooh, well, sometimes we ask this question. What's a question you would ask either of them about this movie?
Oh, okay. I mean, I think from the start they knew it was going to be bad,
Really?
I think they did. Because like or to combat like what the critics would say, they would just kind of laugh it off with humor and be like, "Yeah, you're right, it was bad." Like to combat a lot of it, like did you watch the Jay Leno interview from 2003 and Ben Affleck like purposefully he's like, I'm gonna read like some of my like the best reviews, like the ones that were actually good, and they're like, save $10 in your dignity. Ben and Jennifer finally get their privacy. Like I actually laughed at that one because that those were 100% real, but like he takes the comedic power back, and I think he just kind of leans into it. So I think that they can kind of take it for what it is.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't know if you watched, he was on SNL after Gigli, and they did a skit about it, and I thought that was hilarious because he's like so passionately like he's kind of trying to pretend act in the scene, but the skit is like him stopping to talk to an extra and be like, no, actually this movie is really good, and like trying to defend it in a way. And I think in that turn, that's probably why it didn't hurt their careers as much as it hurt Martin Brests' careers, because they took it in stride. It was just like, okay, yeah, it was a shitty movie. Like,
well, I remember him saying something about like, oh man, like do you really have to make a Gigli joke? Like, I'm already tired of hearing it. But then after a while, he's like, no, that's pretty funny. You should do it. Like,
yeah. But okay, so moving on from Ben Affleck and such, let's get to Miss Lopez.
Yeah. Okay, well, my first question to you, Bria. If Jennifer Lopez said gobble gobble, it's turkey time, What is your response?
Oh my God, I thought about this too because it's such a point of contention, like of like, this movie is really bad and has some really bad dialogue, and this line gets brought up a lot. So, um, I mean, part of me is just like, okay, fuck yeah, like it's not the best like go down on me joke or segue, but like it's also Jennifer Lopez. So like who's gonna be like, really? You can think of something. I'm just not in the mood now. Like because you said gobble gobble. Like, and if it was near Thanksgiving, like it might be holiday appropriate.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. She's like,
What
stuff my
about
giblets, baby.
what about you?
I mean, kind of similar to our shower answer, I would be so afraid of like being disappointing to her that I'd probably just like cry and continuously ask like, is everything okay? Are you having a good time?
So many things. Okay, overall, what do you think about her performance?
So originally I thought that when she was knocking on the door that she really was his neighbor and that she really was making a phone call, but then as soon as she started to act even more sexy, I was like, okay, she's probably not his neighbor. But like if she was, if like some, I was wondering after I watched this that like if she truly was his neighbor and not another mob boss gal sit hit person, whatever, that she like if she really was his neighbor and was kind of this like sweet innocent girl, and then like or like was a nurse at the home that Brian lived or something, and she like sees him in the room and then now she has to be hostage. But the problem with that is that like that plays off with like Stockholm syndrome of like falling in love with your hostage kind of thing, whatever, whatever. I don't know. I was like, maybe it would have worked better if they both weren't trying to like out gangster each other.
An interesting take. I did not think of that. I too did try to like fix this movie in terms of like, okay, like if this was not okay, if this changed and if they were really, how would this
Leave it to
and
girls to be like, I want to watch the most fucked up thing and I'm going to try and fix it. Because that's what we do with relationships.
and no offense to you, Martin Brests, but I think this movie screams like male fantasy if you really
Oh,
break it down.
absolutely.
Because it is absolutely like, oh, there's this tough mobster type guy. Oh, he's going to live in LA though. And then, but he's not really tough. He's kind of sensitive. And then this hot other mob chick has to like be in on this thing that he has to do. And so he's really into her. But wait, she's a lesbian. So like he absolutely is not just going to get into her pants. Like he has to like work on it. And then she's like just hot this whole time, which is really like, rubbing him the wrong way. Oh, and by the way, there's like this mentally challenged kid that's kind of there sometimes. Like
But
that's
like,
why they're
whatever.
but yeah, so anyways, back to like the hot lesbian. Like that is what this movie screams to me. And then at the end, it's like very much like, okay, well, like the mentally challenged kid gets to see the Baywatch, and then they escape getting killed by the big mobster who they tried to help but really didn't help, and they get away, scot free. And then, the lesbian's like, this really wasn't like, this isn't my kind of thing, so I'm just gonna go my separate ways. But she comes back and they live happily ever after, maybe, possibly.
Maybe, yeah, they're boning. Oh my God, Bria, I want to cut that and use that as the summary because that's it. She just, I mean, fuck my Christopher Walken impression. She just blew us all out of the goddamn water.
It's such a male gaze of things.
It's a bro-y movie.
Yes. And so in that sense, like I feel like Ricky suffers from that. And like I will say that like I am totally okay with her not being like some stereotypical like butch really like tough lesbian that is kind of mannish. Like, I'm okay with her being in crop tops and being like hot and doing yoga and stuff. But it's just like, again, like I said, like there's so much dialogue of her being a tough girl. Like when she comes in, she plays, like you said, the neighbor role. Like she fakes off that she's the neighbor, and then finally she's like, hey, can I talk to you? Which is like weird, because you're like, why are you pulling me aside? You just need to use the phone. But like, she's like, so yeah, you're a bigger fuck up than I thought. And it's just like, whoa, hold the phone. How do we get here? And like, who are you to make that judgment on me? And I feel like at some point in the movie, she should have had to prove that she was capable of being his babysitter in a way. Like, she's there to watch Larry Gigli, and Larry Gigli's there to watch Brian. So in a way, like, it's like she really should have been about that life of being able to actually do the like I thing instead of just talking about it, like, and being like, oh no, I don't really know how to do that. I read a lot. So it sounded good. But like actually being like, no. And I'm not a big gun person, but I feel like somebody should have had a gun in this movie. Like, it would have added
I
at
noticed
least
that too.
some.
Besides Al Pacino, like there wasn't a lot of gun violence. They sounded more like Kill Bill style gangsters where they know these like complicated like hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah, and that just does not check out like in
No.
mob movies. But
So again,
like,
maybe because I know Kill Bill came out that year, right? So
yeah,
maybe there was someone leaked a bit of a plot and they like conspiracy Gigli theory.
But it also bothers me that they leave Brian alone a lot.
So much, yeah.
And I'm just like, but like he sleeps on the couch. So I'm just like, he could just get up and leave. Like, why aren't you sleeping on the couch to help prevent that?
Yeah.
And I think that just messes up with so much of like the whole romance part of it, because it's like, they should be watching this kid. He should be in the furthest room from the door, and they should be in places where if he is trying to leave or something, they can intervene. But no, they're cozy in the back bedroom, like trying to have all this sexual tension and stuff. And homeboy could have been like, just been like, hey, I'm just gonna go back to my, health center. Like,
yeah, totally. And that like drove me crazy because like exactly what you said. It's just now we're just getting into the plot, but I feel you like no. I like with relating it back to Jennifer's character, like Ricky could have been the woman who babysat Gigli, who babysat then also had to babysit Brian, because at no point in the plot did Brian escape or get himself into some kind of trouble. So it's like that's a bit of a hole. Like there's not a lot of completion there. Like usually the main problem that happens would be some kind of like plight that the character that like Brian's character would get himself into. And thus that's what makes like him and Jennifer Lopez fall in love with each other.
Yeah, or they're like, the people are looking for him and they like they have to like leave his apartment and try to, go elsewhere and be on the low and all this stuff. And maybe Brian wanders off. And
and for two people who have like the Department of Justice's like kidnapped brother, they are casually driving around Los Angeles in a convertible with the top down. Like lay low.
They did give him a beanie and some sunglasses. So I will say they tried, but not really. But yeah, back to Jennifer Lopez as Ricky. Let's get into the yoga scene because
so we talked about that for a brief second last week when we were recording the Bennifer episode, and I had watched the interview where it was the two of them talking with that male interview.
O'Brien.
Thank you. And he was like, oh yeah, that yoga scene I can watch over and over again. And at that point I hadn't watched it, but you had. But yeah, that yoga scene, let's get into it.
I mean, I do want to say, in terms of Jennifer Lopez's performance, I think she handled like the heavy dialogue of this movie pretty well.
Yeah, I did. And I mean, her whole dialogue throughout that segment is about the vagina, and it's about like titillating and pleasing a woman, and why we don't need penises, and why lips are shaped like vagina, and that's why we kiss lips and stuff. And I mean, Jesus, just like thinking about some of her dialogue, it's like very sexy. But she handled it really, like, she did a great job.
Like, if sexuality was truly a choice and you had to pitch either or to somebody and that's the sales pitch you get, I'm pretty sure a lot of people are like, okay, I'm gonna go with this option because
Yeah.
she does, besides the weird toe and sea cucumber like references, her speech is pretty like on point. You're like, well, damn, that is excellent. And
Yep.
then I mean, I related to Gigli at that point because he's just like dumbfounded by the fireplace and just like, yeah, you're right. Like, you're
Hmm.
absolutely right. Like,
Hmm.
I'm an idiot because prior to that, he goes into this whole spill about why he thinks that a man is more qualified to please a woman and that, you know, her girlfriends are just not biologically equipped for it. And so she counters that.
He's like
It
trying
is
to
a,
chalk up the penis. He's like, you need a penis to have
yeah.
pleasure.
And penises are forward moving and conquering and all this stuff. And it's just like, oh, okay, yeah. But it is a bit weird that she's saying all this during doing yoga, and then on top of that, that a lesbian would take time out of her day and out of her zen too to like check this cis het male and be like, actually, like she was like, okay, fuck off. I don't like dick, and like bye. Like you're not gonna sleep with me. But it's a movie, and
Yeah.
the point of it is that there is some kind of bending in that relationship of theirs. And I feel like that's hard to do. Like when I rewatched it today, I was like, that has to be hard to like, I don't know if she had like kind of choreographed the yoga moves she was going to do, but like to do that and remember all this dialogue, like to me, like props for that. So,
Yeah. I wonder if that was all done in one take.
ooh. I
That would
did
be
read
really impressive.
they did improv some stuff. So
Mm.
I'm curious too if like maybe some of that was improv as well. Like besides that, I will say that I was not impressed by her lesbian lover. I just like
Yeah, that was one part that, like, I mean, it was sad. Like, it took it to a really weird, serious level. So when her ex-girlfriend or girlfriend in limbo-ish, sounds like they're on some kind of a break, barges into Larry Geely's house. Shit, what's her name? Like Christine
I
or
don't even know,
something.
yeah.
And she like accuses Ricky of cheating on her, and that she like stalked her to find her, and she just, comes across as the really scary, possessive girlfriend. And then like full on slits her wrists in the kitchen because she is too dramatic. And I don't know, I just felt like that took a very, very odd turn for something that's been almost a rom-com in my opinion.
Yeah. I hearing you talk about it, that is such a bad lesbian stereotype too. Like
Oh, like
I
being possessive or
like being really dramatic and
oh,
like, you know, not able to like just let things go and all that stuff. Like I feel like lesbian, and I'm sure there's some truth to it, I don't know, but like I've watched like the L Word and the Real L Word, and like lesbian relationships have this, what's the word for it, this reputation of being like heightened emotionally because it's two women. So like if Ricky wasn't gay and she had an ex-boyfriend who was like being, what do you mean we're broken up kind of thing, he would have came in there and probably been like violent and been more towards Gigli than Ricky, and
mhm.
been trying to like manhandle his way through that. Whereas her ex-girlfriend is just like, oh my god, what is it, do you want us to fuck, we could all fuck, like, and then slits her wrists. Like
Mhm.
no dude would go over, well, not, I don't want to say no, but like, you know, most portrayals of that from a male perspective probably would not be that he's going to hurt himself to kind of get what he wants. He's just gonna like hurt somebody to get what he wants.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I'm like, oh yeah. Now that I think about it, that seems probably like really problematic. But okay, what else? We have to talk about the sex scene. So we talked about the gobble gobble part, which, like, yes, is terrible. Who wrote that? Why? I want to know. Please tell us why. Tell me why. Besides that, though, I really enjoyed it. And like one thing that I really liked is that it was kind of flipped gender roles wise, because there's this scene of Ricky on top and Ben is on the bed. And so you see his face and he just looks like happy and in bliss and all that stuff. And usually that is like a shot that we see women in and the guys on top. And that's usually the perspective of a woman, is like looking at the ceiling and like, you know, stuff's getting done to them. And in this movie, it's flipped the other way around. And I think that's a clever way of trying to show this softer side of him, and that being with Ricky is helping bring that out of him, versus like him feeling like he has to put on this macho thing because he knows it's not going to work with her. And I really liked too afterwards that he's laying on her chest and cuddling up to her. And that's typically flipped the other way around of it's like the woman on the man's chest and stuff like that. So I really liked that. I will say too that they definitely did not movie kiss, which I could totally understand why allegedly Chris Judd, because at the time J-Lo was married when they made this movie, and at the time allegedly Chris Judd was not happy like being on set and like seeing the scenes they had to do together, and he had to like get kicked off set, and Ben Affleck was like, I will not do this if he's on set. And that's allegedly, so I don't know how true that is, but if that's the case, I totally understand, because I definitely saw some tongue, and that is not a movie kiss. Because
yes, well, didn't they say in that interview that that was like their first kiss, supposedly?
Yeah, but like you have child stars who obviously they're children, so you know they've never maybe had like a real life kiss, so they're like, oh, my first kiss was like on Lizzie McGuire or whatever. And it's obviously a scripted television, you know, acting kiss, but technically it's their first kiss. So like technically this is Bennifer's first kiss, but like is this the first kiss that they like were like, I want to kiss you and like I have feelings for you? I don't know.
No,
but
it was a believable kiss. I'm not arguing with you there. I makes me think that they might have been smooching a little bit, and that
before
yeah.
I kind of thought about that because I was like, do you practice kissing with another actor just so that it seems, you know, like not
You could.
super awkward? Or but yeah, so their kiss in this movie, I saw some tongue, so it wasn't like your soap opera, just like lips pressed against each other and like rotating your head back and forth kind of kiss. There was some action. And I do think they had good chemistry on this movie. I know some people think that because they were maybe into each other or, you know, whatever, that it didn't really work. I thought it worked well. I'm okay that it wasn't very graphic. It was a pretty simple sex scene. I thought it was beautiful. I did write a note, and I might edit this out, but I did write a note that she fucked him like a little bitch. Like,
don't cut that out, for the love of God. She fucked him like a little bitch.
Just because, like I said, like she was on top, she was in control. He made a comment. He was like something, I forget, but something.
I feel like her whole shtick was kind of emasculating him a little bit, right? Like she kept on saying like, this is why I like women, and this is like constantly comparing him and how he'll never live up to being a woman. And like in some points it's insulting, you know, like whenever they use like you know, the masculinity card as a point to like poke fun at feministic features and like therefore put women down, like that's really annoying. But I think that that's what I thought at first, but then listening to you speak on how he actually is feminine and that which is fine, and that he's sensitive, and that's what draws him towards her, and that's why she is kind of attracted to him, because she sees past this like tough boy bullshit. It was the comment at the very end of the movie when she said like, you know, you look really good with some mascara on. Like I was just
That
like,
was too much.
that was too much. But I really think that she took control that night in bed and fucked him like a little bitch.
Because at one point when they're like first, like when she first kisses him and stuff, I think she like pinches his nipple or something. And he's like, hey, like, and she's like, what? Like, and then he's like, that's like not cool. And she's like, don't you want to be my bitch? Like, and then they like kiss again, and she does it again. And then at some point he's like, you need a woman. Like, maybe this isn't gonna work. And she's like, I am a woman. Like, and she says that to him. And I don't necessarily like that line or agree with that, but like in terms of the dynamic of the sex scene, like it makes sense. Like she is like kind of taking on the more dominant role between them and trying to maybe show him and teach him some things. And finally, my last point about the sex scene is that poor Brian is just out on the couch, unwatched, unsupervised, while they're getting it on. And
yeah, I forget, did they flash to his face? Like, because
I don't think so.
They made it seem like a really sensual thing. There wasn't like the bow chicka bow, ba, 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 and there wasn't a lot of like moaning sounds, right? Like or like the pounding of the bed, which you would think that for comedic humor they'd like flash to Brian's face, like sitting under the covers and listening. But I'm glad that they did leave him out of it. But you're right, he definitely heard that whole thing.
Well, my thing is more so that he's like, again, just not being watched, and that's what they're supposed to do. That is what their job is.
Yeah.
Which leads me to ask you, at one point, so after her ex-girlfriend slits her wrists and they're at the hospital, she goes and she talks to Gigli, and she's like, you know, I don't think we should cut his thumb off. Like, that's not what I signed up for. That's not the job that I thought I was doing. And I was like, what job did you think you were doing? Because what's the point? And then, I mean, I guess let's talk about the ending a little, just because, like, we are so close. We are at the beach, yet she's not in a bikini. And
man, if she could have, if it would have been perfect, Bria, if like the casting director on the beach was like, we need another woman, like we need more like brown-haired woman on the set of this Baywatch, and she just like rips off her shirt and she's in like bra and panties. That is a missed opportunity.
I mean, I don't know how I shoehorn my constant like want of J-Lo happily ever after on a beach in a bikini.
But then that would have made sense, because then Ben Affleck would just kind of like laugh and smile into the sunset as he's like thinking about their path, like potential future together.
Yeah, I will say though, the ending kind of reminded me a tiny bit of U-Turn, because they're in this classic car, this convertible car. Yeah. And, you know, a bunch of shit just happened and they're trying to escape it. And this time they do, alive, both of them get away scot-free, fine. And I'm okay with that. I think allegedly, if Martin Brests got his way, that maybe Larry Gigli would have died, and it would have been way more bloodier and violent than what we got. But I'm okay with this ending. I would like to think that they went on to have little cute babies, and she's still teaching it. Maybe he's wearing mascara now.
What a perfect way to end that. Oh, can we talk about when she meets his mom?
Oh, yes.
So at one point they're driving and Larry's mom calls him and he's like, "Ugh, like it's not a good time." And she like insists, like traditional kind of Italian mother. Um, and so he says like, "All right, we have to make a really quick stop." And he goes in to see his mom, and then Ricky and Brian walk in because she's like, "I want to meet your mom." And I don't know, like,
No, Brian has to use the bathroom, and then
oh,
and
right.
she's like, "And I want to meet your mom." But yeah,
Right. Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. So the whole dialogue between Larry's mom and Jennifer Lopez was just kind of weird. Like if she had once she had like revealed her sexuality, then she's like, "But you've been with men, right?" Like I don't know.
yeah.
There was some really uncomfortable stuff, and then I just it was if there could have been any scene that was cut, I would have chosen that one. I just
That
thought it was
is
really stupid.
that is the band-aid that fixes the plot hole that is part of this male fantasy movie of, but we're gonna have this straight man sleep with this lesbian, but how do we do that?
Right.
Okay, we make it where she reveals that she has slept with men. So it's not completely out
It's
of the
not
book.
all of a
She's
sudden
not a
out of the
gold star
question.
lesbian where she's only been with women and has never been with men, but now she has. So it's a possibility. So by all means, when it happens, it's believable now. And I will say that I do like the actress who played his mom. Oh, Lainey Kazan, but
Oh, yeah.
she's been in plenty of typical like Italian mom movies
Mhm.
and shows and stuff. I do think it's cool that like an older woman was like, I'm bisexual, or I've experimented and stuff, and that they
Yeah.
connected in that way. I think the purpose of it, like for the plot, is terrible, like in terms of like, oh, okay,
She's
she
just
has
saying that so
been,
she can get Jennifer Lopez to fuck his son.
yeah,
Am I wrong?
exactly.
Like she's
No,
saying
yeah,
like
exactly.
that's weird.
And I mean, I think it's awesome that Larry is like very like, oh my God, like mom, stop, like, and awkward and all that stuff. Like that part's amazing. But and he's not like, oh, okay. Like that would have been even grosser if he was
Yeah.
like, oh, all right. And when I rewatched it this morning, I was just like, I'm not kissing, especially in, the pandemic. But I'm like, I am not kissing any stranger's mom after I just met them. Like, fuck that.
Hell no.
Because she kisses Larry goodbye on the lips, and then she kisses J Lo, but she does not kiss Brian, which is fucked up in the scheme of things.
Yeah.
But I think that was also another like, oh, she is like, bisexual and down with women and stuff. But that actress, she did press or something, and I remember her talking about, I kind of hit on Jennifer Lopez's character, so I just went for it. Like, and I am here for that because yes, why would you not? But I think that there was probably some stuff probably cut out too, because I feel like maybe it was more than they showed for her to bring it up like that, like because it didn't feel like she was like hitting on her or anything, but like having like a understanding moment, and again being like, oh, okay, so I think y'all are cute, and you have slept with men, so you can fuck my son if you wanted to, like it could happen.
Yeah.
So there you go, Larry. I just teed one up for you to hit out of the
I'm
park.
your wing woman today.
I mean, and props to her. That's not a bad wing woman move. It's just
No.
shitty movie like
Yeah.
plot device.
You're
So
right. It had the best of intentions, just came off weird.
also, I just want to mention, I just saw my note that like when they are trying to not send in Brian's thumb, so they go to a hospital morgue and
Mhm.
they get another thumb. He has a plastic knife from like a utensil set. Like
Yes.
that
Wouldn't
is
you think he would
terrible.
have like a switchblade as a
Yes, I
gangster?
put that. I was like, come on, you don't have a pocket knife? Like, you're a mobster. You don't have a pocket knife? Like, are you kidding me? So that's just another, like, really cheap, like, why? Also, okay, on this rant of like cheap, why? When he kidnaps Brian, he's like, he gets him to come with him because he's talking about the Baywatch. He's like, "Oh, you want to go to the Baywatch? That's where I'm going." And he's like, "Oh, sweet." So now, of course, he's like, I'll go with you."
Mm-hmm.
Well, first of all, the security at the place that Brian was staying at, like, what the hell? Like, is there no check-in system, no nurses supervising visitation, leaving,
Yeah.
anything, like security cameras, like anything?
Right.
Two, when they're in the car, because he's lying to Brian and they're not going to the Baywatch, he's like, "Oh, I'm getting a call on my walkie-talkie," which is this giant ass like police issued flashlight he has in his glove compartment. Homeboy has a cell phone. Like, it's 2003.
Yeah.
Why are you pretending a flashlight is a walkie-talkie? Like,
Yeah.
you have a cell phone. Brian brought his little handheld radio with him. Like, I was like, that was unnecessary, like stupidity. Also, Brian likes to be read too when he goes to sleep, which I thought was really funny. I was like, oh, that's stupid. Like, he reads him the Tabasco
because
bottle.
he doesn't have any books.
But Ricky is in bed every night with a fucking book, and she's the one who points out, she's like, "You don't have any books?" Like, and is like very kind of like, well, that's dumb of you and like very meathead of you. But like, you have a book that you've brought with you. You can have been like, "Oh, well, I have a book, like read this to him." Or, "Hello, you are this famed fake mobster dude. Tell a fake mob story." Like, mobsters love telling stories. Like, now you're reading from the Charmin thing, which is funny, but I'm just like, it really like isn't like, it really shouldn't have happened that way. Like, he could have faked, like he could have made up some shit, like, you know, make up a scary story or something. Like, you don't have to read the ingredients.
Yeah. I mean, and she could have thrown him a bone and like gave him a magazine or a book or whatever else she had with her. But I think that was her way of like flirting with him and fucking with him a little bit.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. I was just like, oh, come on. Like, 2 minutes later, you're in bed reading a book while he's in the bathroom, like, you know, trying to like pump himself up.
I didn't write down that whole monologue, Bria, but that's one that I want someone to read for my birthday. I mean, definitely they have to be wearing a white tank top and probably do some kind of like a fake cross tattoo on the bicep.
Yes, all of Ben Affleck's bad, colorful tattoos.
Oh, Ben, we love you.
That scene was funny, and that's like those small things that like earlier where I'm like, it's so bad, but then there's things that like you're like, oh shit, like this is funny, or like this is endearing.
It just needed to pick a lane. Is it a rom-com? Is it a crime movie? Is it suspense? Yeah. Like you gotta pick a lane.
They had the freeway wide open and they were just swerving lanes. Like,
they were in a 4-exit roundabout and they just kept driving circles.
Yeah, it was just too many lanes and so little time. All right, to wrap this up, we skipped this with Lil Raj, but like, how many pumps of butter are we giving Gigli?
Good question, Bria. I was wondering if we were going to save that till the end, and I'm glad we did. As a serious movie, so I'm going to grade this by pumps of butter for what the movie was trying to be, which was like somewhat of a serious movie, like a mob crime movie.
Is it? It's trying to be a rom-com, to be honest.
I think that was the intention.
Oh, okay. Anyways,
so if that's the intention, then I'm giving this like a 1.5 for existing. But then there's the other part of it of like, you gotta take it, the good, the bad, the ugly. And for that, I would definitely settle down with like a good medium popcorn with 3 pumps.
All right. I'm trying to wedge like a I can't believe it's not butter spray joke in here.
Damn.
In terms of that, like, I feel like I'm okay with the amount of butter received from concessions And then, you know, in the theater, I'm just like a little extra sympathy, like butter on the side.
Oh my God.
But to be serious, I agree with like your 3 stars. I don't think it's the worst movie of the 2000s of 2003.
I've seen worse, definitely.
Definitely. And I just think that there are a lot of factors in why this movie sucks. And I think that's part of like, I'm growing to learn as to be open about movies that have notoriously been labeled as bad or whatnot, to go into them with a more open mind. I saw a lot of bad things about Cruella on Twitter, but I watched it anyways. And I was like, oh, it actually wasn't like as bad as I thought it would have been, or could have been. Are there things I would like to change or ask questions about Cruella? Of course. But anyways, back to Gigli. So yeah, this movie definitely, I don't think it deserves the labels and the rap that it got. And part of me is like, hey, for the 20th anniversary, Martin Brests dropped that like director's cut, and like let's really see what the intention was.
Do the Zack Snyder and like drop something on HBO Max and like give us what you really wanted.
Yeah, I'm curious to see like what his intentions were like with the movie. I wonder if we could find like the actual like full script maybe. Because even just like the scenes in the trailer that you're like, oh, that wasn't in the movie, but it's still in the trailer. Like, I'm like, I want to know what was happening then. So yeah, I feel bad for I think the Bennifer machine kind of ruined this movie, unfortunately, which helped a lot of other things, and I think that she wound up learning that lesson from this relationship, because her and Mark Anthony were like pretty like quiet and subdued besides like industry stuff. Like I never really saw them in tabloids. Like
sometimes it'd be pictures of them like on vacation, but nothing like too scandalous.
Yeah, not them driving, not them going grocery shopping, not like anything like leaving a cafe or whatever. But yeah, so I just think that unfortunately for them, the relationship that was Bennifer, you know, didn't really help this movie. And that's not their fault, you know. And if the studio really changed the movie to align with them being together, then the studio's dumb as hell. So and those are my thoughts on that. Do you think that this movie holds up to today? Would you like to see a remake or reboot?
Okay, I'm sorry. I initially bounced my head up and down, yes, but there are definitely things that do not hold up into today's standard. So I would see something like this if it was remade, but have Justin Barta's character be completely rewritten. Whether it's that version that I kind of mentioned earlier, where Jennifer Lopez really does play his his neighbor, and like somehow gets tangled up in it, but can also like hold her own, because not that she's like a cop or anything, but that she just like is really good at self-defense, like she's a kickboxing instructor or something, like so she can still kick some ass, but like
now like an ex-MMA fighter or something.
Yeah, exactly. And like, and whether or not there's someone held hostage, maybe it's not a someone, maybe it's a dog. And then they truly make it into like a comedy where they have to like watch the dog and then they fall in love with each other.
That's funny. That is funny. I agree in terms of Justin Bartha. My ideas for trying to help fix this movie are, to me, like obviously this starts off from Larry Geely's point of view, but to me, I feel like Ricky's the more interesting character. She's got all this Zen and Eastern stuff and all that stuff. So like imagine if we start out with this amazing, like beautiful lesbian, like, and she has like a girl in her bed and she's like getting ready and you know, she gets a call, oh, I got a job for you and stuff. And it's like, okay, cool. Like sell me that she's the tough person that she is, because I think it's okay, like that we see that Gigli's like softer than he appears, but like I think it would be more interesting to show how tough Ricky really is and then introduce her into that scenario. And like I feel like we don't need Gigli to be the main character to see that side of him, you know? Whereas like I feel like Ricky's character would benefit from being more central to see how tough and badass she really is and play that up. Now that you said that, like, you know, we don't need Brian, we can have a dog instead. I'm like, in my movie, I don't think that would work, but I could see like them like just kidnapping like some broy like teenager who's like giving them like a hard time, just like yeah. So that's my pitch for remaking this movie, possibly. I do want to point out too that this is the second movie Ben Affleck was in where he was a straight male and had a relationship with a technically movie lesbian woman and like converted her, which is kind of problematic.
Oh, it's extremely, yeah.
I think that too was a big point for a lot of people giving him shit, is like, how many movies are you like not just gonna have the goods enough to like you gotta go after like women who don't even like men? Like, yeah, we did talk about the trailer a little bit, but like, would you have gone to see this in theaters or rent this from Blockbuster?
No, just because I think even from the trailer, even though the trailers make it sound like something different, even if it was that something different, that wasn't up my alley in 2003. So it would have been something that I would have watched at home or with a friend or something, but I wouldn't have seen this in theaters.
Might have been a rental if I was an adult at that point to see just how bad it is. Oh my god. So I hand this over to you. The movie and cocktail spread. I did not think about this at all. Did you think about that?
So I will go, my original thought was sunflower seeds as like a warm-up snack, but my cocktail would be something like Tai Chi healthy, which I know isn't like a real word, but like something with like a ginger shot and like a wheat shot.
Like a green matcha green tea.
A matcha green tea cocktailish kind of beverage to go with Jennifer Lopez and her healthy lifestyle as a fit woman. But then for food, like I want to go full on Italian course. Like I want like some lasagna or something.
Chicken parm, chicken cutlets. Well, you're vegetarian, but eggplant parm or something like lasagna, ravioli, all the things, stuffed like shells and all the good stuff. Cheese. So off the top of my head, I love the sunflower seeds. That's an excellent snack because word to Brian. To be funny, I'm just like, I want a turkey sandwich. Gobble gobble, bitch. Like, so that's all I had, and I don't know what you washed that down with. A Capri Sun. That's all I got. I do like the health like drink. Oh, maybe some kombucha. Ricky would totally
some, like,
be
boozy kombucha.
Yeah, Ricky would totally be on the kombucha hype train if this movie was made now. Do you by chance have a would you rather? I know we kind of did the gobble gobble thing in the beginning, but
no. I don't know, I was thinking about like another sexy related question.
Would you let Jennifer Lopez fuck you like a little bitch?
I'd cry. I would just feel so inadequate with my life. Or
things.
okay, would you rather have Ben Affleck read you the back label of a Tabasco sauce jar for every night for 365 days straight, or cut off a dead man's toe?
What the fuck is that?
I don't know.
Read me the hot sauce bottle. But I don't know, 300 a whole year, that's a lot. So, or Dead Man's Toe, which reminds me of Hocus Pocus.
Dead man's toe. Dead man's toe.
I don't know. What would you choose?
I'd probably choose the Tabasco.
Really?
But if it was other people, if it was like another actor that I really didn't like, I'd do Dead Man's Toe.
Okay. I don't mind Ben Affleck reading, so. Everybody, thank you for braving through this American cinematic masterpiece that is Gigli and listening to this week's episode. So, to the people who've stuck with us so far, please stick with us a little bit longer and come back for another episode of the Great Value version of Inside the Actors Studio.
Excellently said, Bria. Great job. And seriously, if you like us enough to stick around, please take another deep dive down this IMDb rabbit hole as we discuss Jersey Girl.
Yeah, because I think Gigli definitely took us down a deep rabbit hole. So.
I went way deeper than expected with this one. That's what she said.
Yes, we are down here with the Mutant Ninja Turtles right now. So. Gotta get back out to the surface. I just want to say thank you also to JD Mac 1814. He left us a voicemail on Anchor, and that was super cool to listen to. And also, thank you to everybody who listened to the Bennifer episode, told a friend, told your mama, told your cousins, told anybody, told your boss. That is now our most listened to episode, and we were shocked but also not surprised. It is about, one of the hottest couples, one of the biggest celebrity couples to ever do it. So, not surprised but shocked that people wanted to listen to us talk about them. So thank you so much for listening, sharing, liking, interacting, following our accounts on social media. We see you, we appreciate you. And on that note, if you've got nothing better to do, go figure out a theme to watch a bunch of movies you've never seen.
I'm your host, Simone.
And I'm your host, Bria. And this has been another episode of
Roll Call. And
cut.
Hey, Roll Call. This is JD Max speaking from Anchor. I just wanted to let you two know that I really enjoyed this podcast today. I think you guys explained everything really well. This Is Me Then is JLo's best album, hands down for me. Yeah, you're right. They really did treat Bennifer 1.0 like shit back then. I think the media and inside circles got to Ben. He got cold feet and he didn't want to marry her, and then they ended things, but they always loved each other. They always expressed it through interviews and relationships that they loved each other. It was no surprise that they got back together, and I do think it's gonna last this time around. Also, I do believe that Ben wore the pants in their relationship. At home, in public, I don't know, but yeah, at home he definitely wore the pants. But really, I'm just happy for both of them. I think this is really gonna last this time around for them.